Clouds loomed overhead as Lewis's truck drew closer to the Wyoming state line. Everyone sat calmly as Lewis peppered Ursa with questions. "Can I see it?" he asked.
See what?
"The ice," Lewis replied, holding his hand up and wiggling his fingers.
I suppose.
Ursa says, holding her hand up and forming a small ice cube. She winced briefly before handing the cube over to Lewis. "Amazing! Where did you come from?" Ursa breathed as she stared out the window.
I dwell in the heart of Polaris. It is rather relaxing.
"The North Star? Are you serious?" Lewis replied, placing the ice cube in a nearby cup.
Yes.
Ursa shot him a blank look before turning to look out the window. Fascinating. So do you have a people or a family up there?" Ursa momentarily turned away from the window and toward Lewis. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but no words came out. Her lips shut as her sullen eyes swept over Kaden and Logan and then back towards the window. The brothers glanced concernedly at each other as Lewis briefly looked back at Ursa. "So, how'd you three run into each other?" Lewis asked, realizing Ursa wasn't going to answer his question. "What's your story?" The brothers gave Lewis the quick rundown from arriving in Glacier National Park to their run-in at the hospital. As they talked, Kaden's eyes floated over toward Ursa, who was just sitting quietly in the seat across from him. He thought she was going to chime in, but clearly he was wrong. "And yeah," Kaden continued, "we got attacked by those armored guys who were looking for her, but Ursa saved us and we escaped." "Why were they attacking you?" Lewis asked. Logan looked to see if either Ursa or Kaden was going to answer, but he noticed her downtrodden demeanor and Kaden's concerned expression. They were sent by a guy named Maverick," Logan replied. "Correct me if I'm wrong, Ursa, but he's like your opposite, right? She's the spirit of the North and he's the spirit of the South." Ursa remained silent. "Interesting," Lewis says, resting his right arm on the center console. "What does he want?" Logan shrugged. "Beats me. He wants to marry her," Kaden blurted out, causing Ursa to jolt and shoot him a look.
Was this another vision of yours?
Kaden nodded slowly. Logan sat quietly stunned, as if that bombshell was an actual bombshell that just went off, while Lewis silently eyed the three of them. With wide eyes, Ursa looked down at her shaky hands.
Maverick, what has come over you? He should know that this would never work.
She turned to face Kaden and Logan.
Maverick has been obsessed with me for many years, for some reason. But he knows the rules. We can never be together. He must think he is powerful enough to bend the laws of nature. Certainly, that is the whole reason why he is doing this.
Lewis gripped the steering wheel as Kaden and Logan looked at each other in shock. "So, he's going through all of this trouble just to keep you alive, but you'll just die anyway?" Kaden asked. Ursa paused and turned back towards the window.
I suppose so.
Despite the rumble of the truck's engine, the cab became deafeningly quiet. "So, what does all this have to do with Phoenix?" Lewis asked. "Well," Kaden replied while looking at Ursa, "this might sound impossible, but Maverick stole the North Pole and took it down there. We need to get Ursa down there to get it back." "What do you mean he stole the North Pole?" Lewis asked. "How is that even possible?" "We're asking the same questions, pal," Logan said as he watched Ursa sit with her fingers draped over her mouth. The remainder of the drive consisted of infrequent bursts of small talk between Lewis and the brothers. When he wasn't pressing them for details about their journey, he would ask them what they liked to do for fun and whatnot. All the while, Ursa sat frozen with the same expression she had before. Kaden wanted to ask if she was okay, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. He was scared for some reason. After winding through endless forested canyons, they finally reached Jackson. The mountains that wrapped around the little city towered over it like an impenetrable castle wall. Kaden, for one, found it to be breathtaking and, in a way, comforting. Strangely, he felt safe again. Kaden smiled as he thought about how they managed to defeat those sentries and found safe passage to a pilot who, apparently, would fly them down to Phoenix without any issue. Everything was going perfectly well for once. His smile faded as he felt a sense of impending doom overshadow him. Things were going too well. Lewis steered his truck and trailer into the town square, where he parked in a reserved spot parallel to the sidewalk skirting the square-shaped park. The town square was bustling with people, and there were several signs that said Winterfest. Logan personally found the name of the event to be ironic, given that it looked like summertime outside, and the majority of the people were dressed like it was late spring. "Hey Lewis," Logan said as everyone climbed out of the truck. "You mentioned you were driving through here for business?" "Yep. What exactly do you do?" "I'm an ice carver." "Well, that explains the angle grinder I've been stepping on," Kaden muttered. As Lewis and Logan conversed with one another, Kaden watched Ursa climb out of the truck, slouching and looking down at the ground. "All right, grab your stuff. Let's get you guys introduced to Stan," Lewis said as he patted the hood of his truck. The three followed him into an outfitter store that sat across the street, nestled between two other buildings. As soon as they entered the large, multi-story structure, they were greeted by a sea of customers. Lewis passed through the crowd, unfazed, and proceeded upstairs and toward the back corner of the second floor. There stood a door that said, "Manager." Lewis immediately started pounding on the wooden door and shouted, "Hey, Flyboy, open up!" Kaden and Logan looked at each other with tense eyelids. Not a minute later, they heard someone stomp up to the other side of the door. Kaden gulped as a tall old man with short, frosty white hair and a flannel shirt swung the door open. He towered over Lewis with a serious and disconcerting look on his face. "Well, if it isn't my most favorite prick in the world," he said while smiling ear to ear. They pulled each other into a warm hug. "How are you, brother?" I'm good. How are you?" "Oh, I'm splendid." The man then smiled and nodded at Kaden, Logan, and Ursa. "Who are these guys?" "Stan, these are some friends of mine," Lewis replied, introducing them. "I picked them up in Idaho, but they're trying to get down to Phoenix. I offered to drive them, but they need to get down there as soon as possible. And you know how I need to stick around here for the next couple of days, right?" "I told them that you could fly them." "I don't know, Lou," Stan replied. "We've got some busy days coming up here, and today is no different." "Come on, Stan," Lewis says. "You always said if I ever needed a favor, you'd get it done. Well, now is that time." Stan planted his hands on his waist and smiled slowly as he shook his head. "All right, Lou." He turned to the three. "Any friend of this old cactus is a friend of mine." As Kaden and Logan grinned with delight, Ursa breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you, Stan," Lewis said, planting a firm grip on Stan's shoulder. "I guess my guys can handle the store for the rest of the day. I just need a few minutes to finish some paperwork, all right?" "All right," Kaden replied. "Feel free to hang around the store until then," he said before stepping back into the office. "Gee, I don't know what to say," said Logan. "Thanks, Lewis." Don't mention it," Lewis replied. "Stan's a good guy, even though his head's screwed on backwards." Kaden and Logan laughed. "Well," Lewis said, clapping his hands together, "I better be on my way. I got some ice sculptures to attend to." The group nodded. "It was a pleasure meeting you guys," Lewis proceeded. "Good luck on your mission, and I hope our paths cross again soon." They all bade farewell to each other, and Lewis left. For the next few minutes or so, the group floated around the store, waiting for Stan. As Kaden looked at the knife display case, and Logan at a display telescope, Ursa just stood off by the rack of sleeping bags, pacing back and forth with her arms folded behind her back. Kaden noticed this and sauntered over towards her. He cheerily poked his head through the sleeping bags. "These things are real big, huh?" Ursa stopped pacing back and forth and gave him a confused look. Kaden pursed his lips and slowly stepped all the way through. "So, how are you doing?" Ursa averted her eyes from him.
"I am well."
That's good, Kaden said as he tapped his fists together. After a few moments of uncomfortable silence, Kaden said, "Is everything okay? You seem a little stressed out."
"No, I'm..." "Are you capable of keeping a secret?"
Kaden nodded slowly.
"In all honesty, I fear the worst is yet to come. I am growing weaker much faster than I originally supposed I would."
She proceeded to pull her hair back and revealed the bruise marks on her neck.
"This is not a normal occurrence."
Kaden was speechless.
I am hoping that nothing further hinders our flight to Phoenix,
she said as she let her hair back down.
It may be our only chance to prevent Earth's annihilation.
Kaden gulped. Suddenly, before they could say anything else, they each felt a pair of sturdy hands land on their shoulders. "All right," said Stan. "Who's ready to take to the skies?" Kaden glanced up at Stan before exchanging nothing but silent looks with Ursa. They went and fetched Logan, and, before they could even leave the building, Lewis came dashing in towards them, breathing heavily. "Wait, please," he pleads with them. "Before you guys go, I desperately need your help." "What's wrong?" Logan asked. With no further words, he beckoned them to follow him out to his truck and trailer. There, in the back of his open trailer, was a dilapidated chunk of ice sitting in a huge puddle of water. The trailer door and the surrounding sidewalk and road were covered in moisture. "There must have been an electrical shortage in my trailer," Lewis said. "All my ice is gone. I tried to preserve what I could, but it was no use. Ursa, I beg of you, can you make me more ice, please?"
Lewis,
She stared into his desperate eyes and couldn't help but think of how much he had helped them thus far.
What does your ice sculpture need to look like?
"You don't need to make the actual sculpture, dear," Lewis responded. "I just need a 40 by 40 inch block."
It is the least I can do.
"Ursa, wait!" Kaden grabbed her cold wrist. "Are you sure you want to do this? You can hardly summon enough ice to defend yourself." She looked at him and then down at her wrist. She pulled her arm out of his grip.
Yes, I am sure.
She turned to Lewis again.
What is your design?
"It was a monarch bull elk with 16 antler points," Lewis answered. Ursa nodded, stepped inside the trailer, and with a grunt, started forming the ice sculpture with her bare hands. Kaden, Logan, Lewis, and Stan all stared in awe as, within minutes, Ursa created an ice sculpture of a monarch bull elk that nearly filled the entire space of the trailer. Lewis cupped his hand over his mouth with utter amazement. "Ursa, it's incredible! Thank you so much!" What just happened?" Stan asked. As Lewis stepped forward to give Ursa a hug, she suddenly tensed up, collapsed, toppled down the trailer ramp, and started convulsing on the ground. The four men all dropped to their knees and attended to her. Lewis cradled her head, keeping it from smashing into anything. "I think she's having a seizure!"
No, this isn't a seizure.
She winced. "Ursa, what's happening?" Logan asked.
I don't know. I can't feel my hands.
Kaden noticed the surrounding pedestrians looking in their direction. Most especially, he spotted a very familiar gold-armored acquaintance soaring in the distance overhead. "Logan, look!" Logan looked in the direction that Kaden was pointing and muttered, "You've got to be kidding me!" "What do we do?" Kaden asked Ursa.
Try putting me somewhere cold.
They all looked around for potential destinations, and Logan spotted an ice chest sitting outside a store across the street. "Right there! Come on!" Kaden and Logan helped Ursa onto her feet, slung her arms over their shoulders, and hustled through the crowd of people and toward the ice chest. They hurriedly swung it open, pulled some of the bags out, placed Ursa inside, and shut the trap door. "It's like these spurts are getting worse," Logan remarked. "Yeah," Kaden muttered. A few of the nearby pedestrians saw what they had just done and gathered around. One of them demanded, "What are you doing?" Kaden and Logan whipped around as another one asked, "Did you just throw someone in there?" Kaden and Logan glanced at each other and said in unison, "No. I'm calling the cops," said another one of the pedestrians. Logan started after them. "No, wait!" He was immediately cut off and knocked to the ground as a badly dented, scratched, and battered sentry landed before him. The crowd backed away and screamed as the sentry used his sparking armor to summon fire to his hands. Lewis and Stan hurried onto the scene as some policemen arrived and drew their weapons. "Everyone, hands up!" Kaden and Logan slowly raised their hands, but the sentry ignored the officers.
"Hand her over, boys,"
the sentry demanded. Logan and Kaden, with hands still raised, both backed up against the ice chest, hoping the sentry spell would still work. "I said put your hands up!" the policeman yelled. The sentry turned around momentarily and hit each of the policemen with fireballs, knocking them to the ground. With shaky, seared hands, the police radioed for backup. "Tell Maverick it's over!" Kaden yelled. She's not going! Logan picked up a bag of ice and swung it at the sentry, but of course, it did nothing but steam against him. The sentry shook his head, walked up to the brothers, grabbed them each by the collar of their coats, and tossed them off to the side. The sentry opened the trap door, revealing Ursa, now recovered from her episode, but still weak. The sentry reached in and pulled her out.
Sorry about this, but I need the money.
Ursa tried reaching for the medallion at the center of his chest, but she was too weak to damage it.
What exactly is Maverick offering you?
More than what my old job did.
He started to fly away, but Kaden leapt onto his back, and even though it was hot, he tried to lock him in a chokehold. Let her go! The sentry tucked Ursa underneath one of his arms as he struggled to grab onto Kaden with the other. He finally clutched onto him, and with a flick of the arm, he sent him flying into the window of a nearby store. Ursa cried out as Kaden made impact with the window and subsequently the ground. Logan ran up and grabbed onto the sentry's foot, but it was blisteringly hot, so he immediately let go, causing both him and Ursa to cry out. Ursa continued to make feeble attempts at disabling the armor as the sentry floated farther and farther into the sky. Suddenly, the sound of a gunshot split the air, followed by the loud sound of metal clanging and reverberating. Logan spotted Lewis in the distance, holding a rifle. He shot more rounds, scuffing the sentry's armor and catching his attention. Lewis shouted, "Let her go, heathen!" Logan saw the sentry's arm start to heat up and point at Lewis. "Look out!" Lewis took cover behind the antler arch as the sentry shot a fireball where he was standing. Ursa managed to slip out of the sentry's grasp and fall into Logan's arms. Logan ran as fast as he could toward Kaden, who was lying on top of a pile of souvenir clothing. "Come on, Kade, get up!" Lewis turned around the other side of the arch and fired more shots. "Aim at his chest!" Logan shouted. "That's what's powering his armor!" Lewis did so, rapidly, but the bullets just ricocheted, so he took cover again. The sentry then landed in front of the store where the three were, causing the employee inside to scream and run out the back door. As the sentry approached, Logan shook Kaden awake, and even though he was groggy, he helped carry Ursa out the back as well. The sound of sirens tore through the town as more law enforcement arrived on the scene.
"You in the gold armor!
One of the officers announced through a megaphone,
Get down on your knees and place your hands behind your head, or else we will begin firing."
The sentry did not react initially, but he whirled around as the police began firing at him. The artillery ripped through everything in the store, except for the sentry, who just walked out the way he came, the bullets sparking against his armor. As the sentry exited through the windowless building wall, he sent violent streams of fire at the police and their vehicles, causing the cars and everything around them to erupt in flames. One of the officers threw a flashbang at the sentry, and the impact knocked him to the ground, scuffing and damaging his armor, but not rendering it dysfunctional. The sentry climbed back onto his feet and slung out more fire in every direction, setting fire to nearby buildings and trees. In the distance, the sculpture Ursa had formed began to melt. The three took cover behind a building different from the one they had fled. They could hear artillery and flames being shot and thrown around as if they were in the midst of a war zone. With each passing second, Kaden could hear the sound of helicopter blades slice through the air. Kaden planted his hands on his throbbing head as the sound grew louder and louder. "Hey, you good?" Logan asked him. "Yeah, I'm fine." Kaden winced. Logan peeked at the chaos just around the corner of the building. "We gotta get out of here."
We can't! I can't leave these people to fight him alone!
Ursa held her hand out toward one of the rogue fires, trying to summon ice or any kind of force of defense, but it was no use. Her face scrunched up as she did so, tears forming in the corners of her eyes. "Hey, you three!" Lewis shouted as he jogged up to them, pistol in hand. "We gotta get you out of here! Come on!" Kaden and Logan assisted Ursa as they dashed off through the town square park and toward Lewis's truck. Ursa winced as they passed by several fiery objects. Suddenly, a fireball tore across Lewis's leg, sending him tumbling to the ground. "Lewis!" The three rushed to his aid as he sat up and reached for his severely cooked lower leg. Logan spied the sentry floating in their direction. "Come on, man! We gotta go!" No! Lewis winced, planting his keys into Logan's hands. "You kids gotta get out of here! I'll hold him off!" "We can't just leave you! Go!" Lewis reloaded his rifle and unleashed a torrent of bullets on the oncoming sentry. Logan immediately swooped in underneath Ursa's shoulder as they all dashed off towards the truck. Ursa looked back to see Lewis valiantly fire away at the sentry, who swooped down and drove his metal fist into the old man's face, knocking him to the ground unconscious, or worse. By the time they had reached the truck, Logan didn't even bother running around to the driver's side. He just scrambled over the passenger seat and fired up the vehicle as Kaden and Ursa crawled into the back seats. "Logan, he's coming! He's coming! I know!" The tires squealed against the pavement as Logan swerved through the chaos, the open trailer dragging behind. As they took off, the sentry slammed into the roof of the trailer, bouncing off and into Stan's store, knocking the trailer off the hitch. "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!" Logan jerked the wheel back and forth, trying to avoid the bodies that lay sprawled across the road, causing him to bump into nearby vehicles and knocking down a stop sign, but they ultimately made their way out of town. However, Ursa's eyes sank and her already pale skin grew paler. As she witnessed those bodies just laying there, she flashed back to Lewis and started hyperventilating. Logan sped off down a random forest highway. He, for one, didn't care where they were going, just as long as it was away. "Is he gone?" Logan asked, gripping the steering wheel. Kaden turned about. "I think so!" As the sentry reached down toward Ursa, Kaden sprang for the battery-powered grinder on the floor, turned it on, and with his might, jammed it into the sentry's medallion, shredding it straight down the center with a flurry of sparks. The sentry fell limp, sliding off the roof and crashing onto the pavement below. "Nicely done, Cade!" With adrenaline coursing through his veins, Kaden sat back down, still clutching his weapon of choice. Logan slowed to a stop and looked back at the sentry lying motionless on the road. Right as he was about to turn back towards Jackson, he saw helicopters close in on the town. They looked like military or something. With a sigh, Logan continued down the road. "Are we not going back for Lewis?" Kaden asked. "We can't," Logan replied. "Pretty soon the feds are going to be all over that place. We got to keep moving." The three drove in silence for what felt like ages. The trees blew past them like some kind of static sentinels watching the chaos unfold. All Ursa could think about was the chaos inflicted on those poor people. Tears began to drip from her chin down to the leather upholstery, and she wept silently. Kaden and Logan repeatedly glanced at each other through the rear-view mirror. With a cough to clear his dry throat, Kaden gently placed his hand on Ursa's back. "Hey, are you doing okay?"
No, I am not okay!
Ursa exclaimed, causing Kaden to pull his hand away.
My job is to protect the Earth and her people. My entire reason for existing. But all I've done thus far is put everyone in danger.
She drove her fist into the door, but it did nothing. Ursa stared at her fist, but slowly unclenched it as she gazed toward the cup Lewis put her now melted ice cube in. She then pulled from her pocket the medallion she tore out of the other sentry's chest and examined it.
Has it truly come down to this?
"What?" Kaden asked.
If Maverick sees fit to armor his sentries,
she said while lowering her head,
then I shall armor mine.
"All right, Lou." He turned to the three. "Any friend of this old cactus is a friend of mine." As Cactus... Oh my gosh.